Hi everyone, we are back with another show, Salma and Musa Technology and Innovation Show. This show brings you latest technology in front of you, which is the need of the hour. We have seen that world is transforming into a technology world, and this world looks more fascinated, more glamorous, and more exciting, which is obviously making life of the human being very easy, very predictable. We have artificial intelligence, we have machine learnings, we have predictive analytics, which is making consumer life, citizen life, and a life of individual very, very predictable. Um, Based, we can do our data science based on our patterns and behaviors. Things are really positive, and together we will make the world more beautiful with the help of technology. This is our objective. And with this, I will introduce you with our guest today. Look who is going to join us. Oh, so George, how are you?
Everything is amazing. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. I know you have busy schedules and you are doing a lot of informative sessions on technology. And with George, we have another prestigious co host with us live from Abu Dhabi, Salma Al Qubaisi.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Salma. Hope Abu Dhabi is giving you a good heat today. We have been watching in the news that there is a sandstorm, and
Yeah,
uh,
we wake up completely in a block today. We cannot see anything from the window.
that's amazing. I guess this is the beauty of a desert, that you have a lot of sandstorms, and I hope you are enjoying this situation as well. So we both are we are here, and technology show is getting more popular every day. People are sending us their questions, comments, and appreciating our efforts, and that's quite pleasing. So what we will do is we will go towards George, and we will ask him to share his thought for the day.
Sure. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Jorge Sebastiao. I've been in technology for a little bit over 35 years, and I've been in the Middle East a good section of that, which is over 26 years. So I've seen the evolution of the Middle East from basically just sand in the desert to now a very modern society using the latest technology capabilities. So today I'm going to be talking about one of these important technologies in combined with other. It's something called metaverse. As you know, Dubai recently announced a metaverse strategy that will create many jobs in the region. But with all this new technology, we obviously need to always take care and take levels of protection. So I'm going to be addressing both the elements of the flexibility and the value of the technology, but also the controls that we need to be in place so that we use this technology in the most safest way possible as well. So I've prepared a few slides to describe some of this. So it's a pleasure to be here. So let me see if I can um, share my screen. So you should be able to see my presentation slides. I'm going to be talking about metaverse cybersecurity and its associated risks, and more specifically also about privacy as well. You're welcome to follow me online on either Twitter or LinkedIn, where you find a lot of these links associated, including the program that you actually seen today, which will be published and is being published live on YouTube as we speak. When we talk specifically about protection and security, One of the most important elements today is the importance of what I call speed, because everything is about data, as was introduced earlier in the program. All this data that is being generated by big data and the metaverse will generate much larger amounts of data, specifically 3D data, video data, social media data, e-commerce data. So we need to protect ourselves in real time. There's something known in cybersecurity as time-based security, which identifies that the level of protection should be associated or faster than the degree of detection and reaction. So the speed at which you defend yourself against an attack is extremely important. When we talk specifically about the metaverse has been with us for quite some time. Initially, it was not called meta or metaverse. It was called digital twin technology, which has been 3D worlds have been with us since the last 15 years or even more. They made the birth in what we call video games, immersive environments. But today, when we saw the birth of this thing known as the metaverse, what we're really doing is combining many of the technologies that we have used in the past into a new world that we call the Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is an evolution of what we've been using for the last 15 years called Web 2.0. And one of the key elements is metaverse, which is an immersive environment that combines many of these elements together. Digital currency or virtual currencies, marketplaces, infrastructure elements, gaming, digital assets, a capability to actually do e-commerce. So that means the way you are going to be reserving a hotel in the future, the way you're going to be reserving an attendance at a hospital or any of other e-government services are going to be through this metaverse environment. So it's not just about e-commerce and online shopping, it's about creating a digital twin of the physical world that we live in. And obviously, this include elements of social media that has been with us for the last 10 years or so. AI will play an important element because the metaverse will have the capability of understanding and processing natural language. And also, it will have an entertainment element as well. So the next concert that you attend or the next visual music concert might be in the metaverse or in this 3D world as well. Of course, with this new 3D world comes big risks. So, for example, one of the more recent released elements of the metaverse is associated with what we call NFTs. So OpenSea got itself hacked. Actually, not OpenSea, the platform, but their Discord servers that is being used to do the social media associated with OpenSea. And they basically were promoting fake NFT passes. So this means it leads to a lot of online scams. So people are losing their assets or their digital currencies that they've spent for some of these assets. But the problem is much bigger than that. One of the more famous immersive environments was released known as the Bored Ape Yacht Club, or BAYC, where NFTs are being sold anywhere from $50,000, some of them up to $250,000. And this NFT gives you access to new facilities and into a new created 3D world called The Other Side. But when this was released on the Ethereum platform, it did not have the capability to actually power all this new technology. On the first day, it actually ended up being crashed. So that means availability of this 3D immersive metaverse environments is as important. So they need to have the capability to process the capacity of the user workload that is being introduced towards them. So I'm going to try to summarize some of the kind of risks that are associated with these metaverses. Some are scams, like I mentioned you. Some are the introduction of fake NFTs, like in the case of the OpenSea one. In this Web 3.0, we have a whole new generation of APIs, or also known as application programming interfaces. All these new interfaces have risks associated with them. I give you the example of when a system crashes because it cannot process all the users. This is what's known as availability. But many other risks exist. These risks exist with the digital wallets that we use in these new metaverse environments. risks exist with the devices that we use to consume this information. As you know, when we go to these metaverse environments, we have to use things like 3D goggles or mobile devices that allow us to immerse ourselves in these metaverse environments. And as a result, some of these have got vulnerabilities and privacy issues associated with them. And if those do not get addressed, then data gets leaked. Now, different leaks of data have different risks. If it's an e-commerce issue, the risk may be medium or small. However, if it's a medical device that is being used in this 3D digital hospital, the leakage of patient data is a much more critical piece of information that needs to be protected correctly. And then we have things like compliance, awareness, privacy. As you know, Dubai just recently passed a regulation that enables organizations to actually register themselves as metaverse and NFT providing organizations. This allows us to have better compliance and better regulations as well. So what we're really talking about is securing this new Web 3.0, which is known decentralized and very mix of new technologies that enable the users to coexist in this immersive environment. As I mentioned, the biggest risk in this Web 3.0 is not the technology, but the data behind the technology. And this is your data. This is the data that is associated with your identity. This is the data associated with your behaviors online. This is the data associated with your social media. And all this data is being processed today by data analytics and artificial intelligence model. So if this data is not properly protected and it's not properly encrypted, is not properly locked up, then the risk becomes much more exponential. As you know, in this new 3D metaverse worlds, one of the things that we use a lot is gaming environments. And one of the most popular gaming environments is known as Axie Infinity, which has been with us for some time. In the case of Axie Infinity, one of the bridges got hacked, what we call crypto or digital currency breaches, which resulted in a loss of $650 million, almost a little bit over $500 million worth of funds. As you can see, this is very important elements that actually need to be protected. So the overall loss across associated with these bridges now reaches over $1 billion already, because several of them have been hacked. Actually, 4 of them have been hacked so far, and the average loss is somewhere between 100 million and 600 million, obviously Axie Infinity being the largest one. But other elements is the exchanges in which we use these digital currencies. This is an example of a very popular exchange from Canada in which the founder disappeared, and with it, the digital assets. So close to $200 million got lost as a result. In this new 3D world, we tend to use the technologies that we have today. And one of them is the SIM card that is in our mobiles. The SIM card is being used as our identity. However, the SIM card is not always safe. And there's something known as SIM swap, which allows somebody to take over our SIM card, get issued a new one by the mobile operator, and basically take over our entire online digital identity. So we need to protect ourselves against this type of attack. We had one of my good friends ended up suing AT&T for a little bit over $70 million as a result of assets lost to SIM swap. But even more important than that, in this new metaverse, there's new risks. The things that exist in the physical world, like, for example, stalking, they also exist in the metaverse. So we have people being attacked in the metaverse or in this digital world the same way they're being attacked in the physical world. And as a result, digital worlds like the ones created by Facebook actually introduce the concept of a boundary or a geofence that enables people to not come in your proximity if you enable these new facilities. The most popular tools that we use today to access these environments is the browser. However, the browser is not a very safe environment. Things like Chrome or extensions or the popular browsers that we use have these extensions, and they leak information. and they leak Web 3.0 information. Therefore, you'll be spied on. So you need to understand the risks associated with using these Chrome or Brave extensions, which can introduce a lot of risks. The digital wallet assets are also vulnerable themselves because they're pieces of software in many cases. So the vulnerabilities that are associated with them could us have lose all the funds that are stored in these digital wallets. We tend to store our digital assets today in exchanges because that's where we trade them. That's where we trade NFTs. That's where we trade the digital currencies. However, digital exchanges are not designed as safes. So that really means that you should keep your most important digital currencies in safer methods than digital exchanges. That really means you use things like, for example, cold wallets as an example, which are safer than digital exchanges. However, even things like cold wallets that we expect to be safe are not always. So some of them, because they have some software elements, microcode, and this microcode sometimes has vulnerabilities and needs to be updated regularly. In this case, there was a man-in-the-middle attack against one of the popular cold wallets or hardware-based wallets. So what I described for you is some examples of these risks. So the question is, how do we control these risks? How do we minimize these risks? And the best way to describe this is the same way you drive a car today. When a car was introduced many years ago, you didn't even have seat belts. Today, when you drive a car, you have a seat belt, you have airbags, you have traction control, you have collision avoidance systems, you have AI systems that actually behave like a co-pilot to you. So we need the same kind of systems to be introduced in the metaverse so they actually control and protect you against this new generation of risks. So you need to understand these risks and what is acceptable for you as a risk. If this is your entire savings, how you protect them. If this is your medical data, how you protected them. If this is your social data, your videos online, your photos, how you actually protect this data in a very effective way. So there's new frameworks that have been created especially for this metaverse. I invite you to go something called xrsi.org, which has created a framework to enable us to protect. They've actually published so far about 5 different documents. They're available free of charge to download. And in those frameworks, you can identify what are the actions that must be taken by the companies that make this hardware, like Oculus, for example, so that these devices are safe, as well as the companies that actually make the software that actually runs these metaverse environments. What this enables us to do is to have a safer environment, whether it is for medical or for e-commerce or for just for fun. And it enables us to have a safe environment in which we can experiment in this highly immersive environments. That really brings me to the right and final point of my presentation today, which really means if you're really serious about safety and security, we today consider security in the metaverse in these new environments is like a gunfight. And there's an old term that says, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, which really means that you need to have the right level of protection to actually be safe in these new metaverse environments. In a bit of a funny way, it says, bring a gun, bring all your friends that have guns, or bring all your, so that you have proper protection in this new metaverse experimental environment. So we have a lot of disruption ahead associated with these technologies. They're introducing new business models. They're introducing new e-commerce models. They're introducing new ways to generate business. However, we need to protect them so that we do them in a safe way. So it has been a pleasure to be with you for this short period of time in this presentation. And we go back now to the moderator for maybe some discussions, some questions, and so on.
George, you have a very interesting topic, and this is very close to my heart also, the risks related to the cyber vault. And we saw in the past, before the origination of the metaverse, that a couple of times the data was hacked. For example, someone attacked the UK airport system, and they uh, they were they were able to make it down for 8 hours, and it affects a lot to the airport operations. And a couple of times we saw that national databases like immigration, police, and such record also being attacked. Even in US, there was an attack on US visa issuance system, which caused them a lot of problems. So, I mean, risk associated with IT is very, very old and phenomenal, and obviously, these same risk will carry forward in the metaverse or in the new stuff. So, but when the blockchain came, uh, how you see blockchain with these risk? Is the blockchain is going to help, or is it just a modified version of a technology?
That is actually a very good question. Basically, blockchain is a technology of trust. Blockchain is a technology of trust that allows two individuals or two organizations to exchange value without any middlemen. So this was a very dramatic change of how we exchange value, how we transfer money between two entities, whether we purchase goods or simply we transfer money, as an example, through digital currencies. However, although blockchain is a technology of trust, blockchain is not all the technology. Let's assume you have a supply management system, or let's assume you have a crypto exchange or you have a mobile app. When you use blockchain, blockchain is about 5, sometimes 10% of the code associated with running that environment and that application. So the blockchain part, you can say it's fairly safe and very resilient and very powerful in safety. However, the remaining elements are not. And one of the things that is important when we talk about security and when we educate and bring awareness to the masses, we have to make them realize that yes, blockchain is safe and it has remained safe 99% of the time. However, the applications of today is not just blockchain, it's all the other pieces. So what happens is if one of those pieces is not safe, let's say the mobile operating system is not safe, or the mobile app is not safe, or even the user gets tricked into doing a wrong operation through a scammer, and what we call social engineering, blockchain cannot protect against such type of attacks. That really means that uh, even with blockchain, we still need to continue our activities of cybersecurity. That means we need to continue building education about cybersecurity and the new generation of attacks that exist in the metaverse and in blockchain environments. We need to build awareness about safety in mobile apps. We need to build awareness about Web 3.0. We need to build security awareness in metaverse. And only when we reach this level of knowledge for the user, and sometimes this knowledge is very basic, but it makes all the difference in the world.
That's amazing. I guess a lot of people who ask me this question might got a clear idea about it. One more question that people are generally asking me, that if the metaverse and digital currency mainly they talk is so exciting, then why the central banks are not taking it as a normal currency, because it is cost effective, it has blockchain, it is more reliable. Why they are reluctant to regulate it and issue under the central bank?
That is a very good question. Actually, there is different parts of the world that have approached this problem in a different way. You can say there is countries, and there's about today, let's say 10 to 20% of them that are crypto friendly and have adopted the regulations to allow cryptocurrencies. There is about 50% of the countries that are studying on how to use digital currencies. And there is a 40 or 30% of the countries that are completely against. You can say these are the countries that see a threat in the usage of these digital currencies. But one thing is important. Today, there is different types of digital currencies. There is the open source ones that don't belong to anybody, like, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum. They belong to a community that actually created them. And there is central bank digital currencies, and this is known as CBDC. And these ones are actually being used by the central banks the way we have been using them in the past. The only thing that is being the big change is that instead of having paper, we will have digital money, but we will actually have the same money that we have before. Now, of course, by having CBDCs or central bank digital currencies, it allows much more power to the governments, which the average citizen is not necessarily happy with it. What does that mean? That means central banks will have the capability of confiscating those currencies manually. So that means if they're in your wallet, the next day they could stop working. They could automatically collect taxes, where in the past you might have to fill out a tax submission form. Now they don't need to do that anymore. They know all your activities, so they can say, based on these activities, we expect to collect this percentage of tax, and they can make it happen almost automatically. Not everybody is happy about that. So you can say in today's world, we're experiencing a transition between a very open world and where everything is allowed, and a more control world where all the big governments want to control everything. I think the future will be probably a combination of all these. I think those worlds are colliding. I think those worlds have to somehow coexist because at the end of the day, CBDCs are a matter of reality. For example, China, with the digital yuan, has been testing this for 3 years. So that means they have already passed beyond what I call the pilot stage. Now, we have something that is in between what we call an open currency and you can call a CBDC. And what we call those are sometimes stable backed asset currencies. One example of that is the USDT, in the sense that, and USDC and its variations, which means these are private companies that have created a bridge between both worlds. That means instead of having currencies that fluctuate highly from day to day, they're based on the existing assets that we have used in the past, which means that if you have USDT and the proof is there that the two match, so that really means you have access and you're owner of that dollar. It's just that now you have a digital version of that dollar, but that dollar today is not really controlled by a government, but it's being used today. Actually, the most popular currency in usage today is actually USDT. Most people think it's Bitcoin or others. No, it is USDT because it allows us to trade, buy services in a very stable way. Because, for example, if you have currencies like Ethereum or Bitcoin, the time between each you buy the good, by the time the supplier gets paid for the good, there might be a difference in price, and that difference sometimes is low. But when it's in a very volatile environment, that difference may be 10 or 15%, which for a supplier is not acceptable because that may be his entire profit. So that means they need something that is a little bit more stable than some of the environments that we're actually using today. And today what we're doing is seeing a transition between this completely free-for-all world and a completely regulated world. I think the reality that will combine those two worlds together.
Yeah, you can see a very nice future ahead, that maybe in the future they have to force themselves to have a global regulation because the investor is global. So with this, I'll move towards the last question of the day, which is people are very much interested. I personally meet people who have some ideas about NFTs, blockchain. They want to create a platform related to different things. So how you see the future and what projects might be an interest for the world or investors in a near future related to blockchain, NFT, and metaverse?
Actually, both NFTs and metaverse are providing new approaches and new business models. Let's take first NFTs. NFTs are unique pieces. Now, they could be art, they could be real assets like real estate, they could even be gold or other physical assets. So an NFT allows us to trade these physical assets, but in a virtual way, in a much faster way. The nice thing about NFTs is that NFTs are like programmable money. So it's not just the identification of the asset, is we have a smart contract, which are pieces of code that get executed behind the NFT. So this gives, for example, content creators. These are the people that create YouTube videos. These are the people that create art or digital art. These are people that write books, as an example, depends the type of content that you put. So the actual content creators will have the capability of automatically get paid each time their creation gets either used or it gets traded in the market. So, and this happens automatically without any middlemen. So this is a drastic change in an economic model. So it is going to disintermediate traditional businesses that have profited from this Web 2.0. So the big losers could be companies like Twitter, Facebook, Google, which today are the intermediates that collect the money on the usage of this content creation. So with NFTs, the original creator will get rewarded directly as its creation gets transferred from one individual to the other, or when it gets used meaning when the video gets played, when the DJ plays the music or gets played on an online radio station, the original creator of that song will automatically get rewarded for that content. So it's a dramatic change in the business process.
That's amazing. So these are the new dimension and projects that an investor can look into. And with this, I want to thank you, George, for joining us today.
It is my pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be here anytime.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is a very useful discussion we just did. You got a lot of insight about NFTs, blockchain, metaverse, which is we can easily see from a consumer point of view or from an investor point of view that these are the future of the world. And we can also say that there are a lot of investment opportunities in these areas. If you have any kind of projects you want us to look into, definitely we are the specialist who can help you, promote you, bring you closer to your dreams, can complete your business plans, your thoughts convert into a real business with the help of consultant. Is always a good combination. We'll always bring such kind of high-end professionals who is going to give you more insight about these technical informations. With this, we will move forward towards with our co-host and Salma Al Qubaisi and see what technology she has today to share with us.
Hi and welcome again. It was an interesting topic by George, to be honest. So the focus today, I think, will be only about mainly or specifically on security, because due to the growing amount of data that are generated by people every day, it's imperative to protect those data and use them ethically. So consumers understand the harm that improper handling of their information can cause. So it's very important to have a digital trust and security. And enterprises also that want to survive must value the digital trust here in this era, for example. So the reputation is critical for the enterprises. Although earning a good reputation is challenging, enterprise reputation can be damaged quickly with one harmful incident. So if, for example, we can say that nowadays data is more expensive than the oil worldwide. So if you have data of a person, you can make or break his life, for example. Right from influencing him or her to buy their buying patterns or to taking critical decision in their lives. For example, I know someone who have a car, electric car. Ali, he's driving his electric car. I will not mention the brand, but days are not far that hackers will hack his car and maybe and cause an accident. How? You may ask me. So access to the mobile nowadays can lead to remotely control the car and do whatever the hacker want to do with the electric cars. I think most of us have seen the video of the granny on Tesla. It's spreading fast now about the grandchildren causing horrific jokes to their grandmothers. So that car drives by itself on the street, and the grannies in the car are getting freaked out. We're all aware of the fact also that people bank accounts had been hacked and they were blackmailed. So it's very important that anonymization to be considered as a critical part in those days. We will think about how does data get leaked. Data get leaked through the weakest link everywhere, which is the employees. For example, if we have the marketing department ask for data for a research purpose, if the raw data gets transferred through an email, we know what next can happen. Emails can get hacked. Emails is not immune to be hacked. On the other hand, if the data was anonymized before transfer and the data was breached, the identity of the given data would have been protected. So what is the digital identity of the customer? In the digital identity of the customer earlier, as George mentioned, in the Web 2.0, doing a transaction was restricted to OTPs and mobiles, which we all know is not a safe practice. The good news now that we are moving to the Web 3.0, where blockchain plays a critical role, where anonymized data, digital identity, and security aspects are beyond the traditional Web 2.0 world. Global companies like popular search engines we are using, or popular social media on the phones we are using, they are under context of giving better customer experience. And preferred search preferences, for example, are tailored by shortlisting brands who does services in a segmented customer preference. For example, if I'm buying, for example, organic products, I will always find all the hair products of companies will show up or get listed on my search engine or all my social media platform. So with the advent of metaverse, which George mentioned earlier, and people roaming in virtual spaces like Sandbox or using Unreal engines, digital trust or digital identity is at risk. I don't know if you, for example, in an event on, for example, if I go into an event virtual metaverse conference, for example, what is the assurance that me, as Salma, who's having a speech on a conference, is not someone else? I could be replaced by an industry thought leader taking my name on that conference. Like, for example, an example I really was shocked about when Facebook launched their first metaverse platform, the story of metaverse lady who got unfortunate. It was a game, but I don't understand. In 60 seconds, the lady got raped on digital platform. And still the people or personal, many people, whoever did it, their identity is not revealed. The most unfortunate part here, there's no legal legislation in place to punish the criminals on this platform. Here we should know that enterprises should value digital trust because it can provide a competitive advantage over enterprises that are not considering it as trustworthy. I'm moving to blockchain, which is I'm really interested about this topic because it plays a major role here for me. Being in the logistics industry, after moving also from the aviation business, we are looking into too many different aspects which lead us to the blockchain technology. The transaction settlements, audit, transparency, automating our processes, and purchasing planning, tracking our social responsibility, accurate costing information, automation of our equipment, shipping, better shipping data, giving or enforcing tariffs and trade policies to the process, the safety of the employees, safety of the food as well, any violation, preventing violation or compliance. So, and reducing human errors. So removing supply chain inefficiencies and lowering cost was a major player for me to dive into the blockchain study. Basically, what is the blockchain? Blockchain comprises of the three components: the data, hash of the block, hash of the block previous to this block. So what is the features of blockchain? A blockchain has a number of unique features which attracts people attention, such as immutability, trust, auditability, and transparency. There are many platforms for developing blockchain: Stellar, Tezos, Hyperledger Fabric, and so on. The five major sector blockchain technology is affecting is banking. Next is the security, cybersecurity, where most of the attacks are at the top threat to this digital world, to our digital world. Supply chain management sector, healthcare as well, and government, insurance, transportation, and real estate, and the list goes on. This is mainly a very important topic which really inspired me to dive into this. And I really like to study more about it, even though I'm from the planning and strategy. But security is a major role player in our industry, and we should be open to this area of technology. I will close here, Dr. Musa.
That's amazing. I guess you have pinpoint the very important topic, that is security, and especially George was talking about data security, and you also mentioned that data and even the architectural security has become really important. That's the basic tool that we rely for a login, like a face recognition or a fingerprints or a SIM. These all are hackable. There are scams available. So I guess that 90% that if we want to save ourselves from the losses is we need to focus on security. So security is a discussion which is very close to my heart, and we will continue this discussion in our next program because this is as a group CEO and as running different advisories for businesses, I feel that the most important is the data reliability and security. So I want to thank you, Salma, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, audience, that we are almost in the end of our program. I'm going to close it with a hope that this technology and innovation show will bring a lot of new insights and it will enlighten your knowledge in terms of data, in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of data security, in terms of blockchain, and in terms of metaverse. Because technology is the future. It can reform the world. We have seen last 50 years since the use of computer technology and concept of portability, and as all has been implemented, it has reformed, restructured human life. Human life has become more predictable, more scientific, more accurate, and I hope this will keep continue. With this, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next program. Till then, take care of yourself.